composition.
Is that a rim shot?
Yeah.
She told me. It's her fault.
Getting the finger.
Good morning,
Good morning.
and welcome to Unity of Palmyra, where we do our darndest to embrace a positive path for spiritual living. We're absolutely delighted that you've joined us this morning, both in the sanctuary and out there in Facebook and YouTube land. Unity of Palmyra is an open and affirming congregation. We love you exactly the way you are in all of your magnificent glory. So let's take a nice big deep breath. Oh, and if you can safely close your eyes wherever you are, I invite you to do that. As we signal to the universe and our very busy minds that we are coming apart for a while. And so we breathe into this moment. We breathe into whatever place we are in. And we take these few seconds to become fully present, to align our heart and our mind, to align our humanity with our divinity, to take this time apart, this Sabbath time, to rest in body, mind, and spirit, and to remember our true nature, to remember who we are at depth. And so taking one more big, deep breath together and collectively, we are here now. And as always, we enter into this time together with gratitude as we say thank you for this time. Thank you for whatever safe space you are in. And most especially, thank you for one another. And so it is. Amen. All right, let's stand and sing.
We are gathering in song, welcoming the oneness, opening the doors of spirit wide. We are walking into light, starting out together on a journey through the miracles inside. There is abundance in our fellowship. This is a place we all belong. We place our trust in this great holiness. This is the moment, come along. We are gathering in song, welcoming the oneness, opening the doors of spirit wide. We are walking into light, starting out together on a journey through the This sacred place is yours and mine. We are gathering in song, welcoming the oneness, opening the doors of spirit wide. We are walking into life, starting out together. There's a journey to the miracle inside, on a journey to the miracle inside.
Let's share together now. In our vision, centered in love, we embrace a positive path for spiritual living. And our mission, wherever we are, we provide a welcoming community that inspires and encourages all who gather here through the teaching, sharing, and practice of universal spiritual principles. One of the ways we practice is to honor wherever you are on your journey. So if you want to hug, we'll bring it on in. If you want a handshake, just put your hand out and we will respect that. And if you want us to leave you completely alone, just stay where you are and we will totally honor that. Have a great time. Good morning.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Ah, have a seat. Doesn't that feel good? All righty, several announcements. First announcement, our prayer chaplains today are Sherry Fries and Linda Longenecker. They are both in the sanctuary this morning, and they will be available for you on the side of the sanctuary if you would like one-on-one prayer after the service. So, Queen Linda I of Yardsalia has asked everyone to go into the Rose Room after the service and take whatever you want. Anything you do not take will be shipped off to Jubilee this week because we now have to get ready for Source of Light. So it's on us. Consider everything in there free. If you want it, it's yours. Please take it. It's free. Did I mention the free part? Please take it. Because the more you take, the less we have to box up this week. Next week, the social activism team will be meeting immediately after the service. They're going to be meeting in person, but they're also going to be Zooming in anyone who wants to Zoom in for that meeting. Our first play rehearsal is today, so you know who you are if you are one of the 12 powers involved in our August 29th 12 Powers Play pandemic version. Please hang around after the service. We're going to do a quick read through. This one shouldn't take too long today. We just want to get a feel for the rhythm of it. The Source of Light website is up and running. You can go straight to it from our weekly email, or you can go onto our website under the Serenity Space tab, and there's a link to it there also. And so pretty much all of the vendors now are requesting that you sign up online. So go in online, and you can sign up, and you can pay through that site.
Volunteers are meeting today.
Volunteers are meeting today. Lots of meetings going on today for Source of Light. We could use a few more painters tomorrow and Tuesday if you're available, even for an hour to come over, and we'll put a roller in your hand and you can roll. We want to get at least the first coat on downstairs so it looks nice for Source of Light. So if you can do that, let me know, because I'll be here both days. And also in preparation for the grand opening of Holy Grounds and the play and everything else that's happening on August 29th. There is sign up for the luncheon over in the Rose Room, so please do sign up for that. The meal is on us. The church is treating to the meal, but we do need to know how many people are showing up so we can get enough food. And I think that was it. Please take whatever you want from the Rose Room. It's free. I'm going to say that probably 2 or 3 more times today during the service. Now, Melinda Raber, where did you go? I think you're our daily word reader this morning. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. So would you like to read the daily word? So our daily word reader for this morning is Linda Raber, who will now be reading the daily word. The paint fumes got to you from yesterday, I think. Was that it?
Well, our word for today is radiance. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. On a clear day, when a stray cloud passes across the sun, I notice the suddenly diminished light. Then, looking up, I see brilliant rays of sunshine surrounding the cloud. Instead of hiding the sun, the cloud helps me see and appreciate the sun's radiance. As the sun lights the earth and is the source of its energy, the Christ, the divine presence within me, is my light and source of everything that I need in order to live brilliantly and joyfully. When, like a passing cloud, an obstacle or challenge along my path may seem to dim my Christ light, I respond by looking up, by raising my point of view. I am reassured and strengthened, knowing that the divine radiance is shining as brightly as ever. No cloud can dim the divine light in me. From John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it.
I am home. My family is here. I feel loved by the ones I hold so dear. And when my family needs me, I promise to be there. And when I need my family, I'm lifted up in prayer.
So let's focus on the word for the day, radiance. Let's all take a nice big deep breath together. In times of uncertainty or anxiety or everything that's going on in the world, we can sometimes forget that we have an inner light, that we have an inner radiance, that we can shine at any time. And like any light, it needs attention. Just as the fire needs kindling and oxygen, our inner light needs energy and attention. It needs us to be willing to get exquisitely quiet, to listen to that still small voice that fans the flame of our inner light. And so this morning during this prayer time, we shine a light on any challenge, any adversity, any struggle, any anxiety we may be feeling. We surround it and immerse it in that inner light, in that amazing glow of spirit. We see that light infiltrating this challenge, transforming it, transmuting it, bringing clarity to it, shining a light on it. And in that light we relax. We know that all is well. We trust divine order. And we say thank you. And then we shine that same inner light on any reason for joy or gratitude or celebration. And this time we see that light transform into brilliant fireworks of joy. For that inner light is our inner knowing, our inner glee, our inner gratitude. And we are grateful for the opportunity to shine it brightly in the world. And finally, we follow the web of that light as we see that it connects each one of us, heart to heart, mind to mind, spirit to spirit. Through the vision of that light, we know that we are one. Each one of us parts of an incredible whole. Each one of us acknowledging and celebrating that divine inner light in one another. And so it is. Namaste.
The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. You are beautiful. You are whole. You are beautiful. You are whole.
If I could tell the world just one thing, it would be we're all okay. And not to worry, 'cause worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. I won't be made useless, won't be idle with despair. I'll gather gather myself around my faith, for light is the darkness most fear. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours. They are my own, but they're not yours. They are my own, and I am never broken. Poverty stole your golden shoes. It didn't steal your laughter. And heartache came to visit me, but I knew it wasn't ever after. We'll fight, not out of spite, for someone must stand up for what's right. 'Cause where there's a man who has no voice, there ours go on singing. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours. They are my own, but they're not yours. They are my own, and I am never broken. In the end, only kindness matters. In the end, only kindness matters. I will get down on my knees and I will pray. I will get down on my knees and I will pray. I will get down on my knees and I will pray. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours. They are my own, but they're not yours. They are my own, and I am never broken. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours. They are my own, but they're not yours. They are my own, and I am never broken. We are never broken. We are God's eyes, God's hands, God's mind. We are God's eyes, God's hands, God's heart. We are God's eyes. We are God's hands, God's
Laura, that was gorgeous. Thank you. It was beautiful. And thank you for answering the call. Literally answering Janie's call.
Yesterday,
Yesterday.
afternoon,
Yeah.
and Alan too.
We never want to take for granted the skill level and professionalism and talent of our music team, ever, you guys. They're amazing. They're amazing. I have worked with music teams all across the country, and these guys rank right up there in the top. So, welcome back to the 12 Powers. Today is Divine Order. I have to tell you, I love this power. Not just because it's green, which is one of my favorite colors, and purple. Like, look how good green and purple go together, right, guys? So when I was first learning the 12 Powers a gazillion years ago, under the tutelage of Reverend Claudel County, she did what I now do, which many of you have experienced. At the very first class, she had a basket, and all the powers were in the basket, and everybody had to pick out a power, and then that was going to be what they were going to be diving more deeply into through the course of the class. And she also had a 12-month disciples program that I was part of another gazillion years ago, and she did the same thing there. So we really got like steeped in the 12 powers. Every single time that I drew a power out of the basket, every time, true story, it was divine order. So it has kind of become my power. And I love it because divine order is our ability to organize. It's okay, you can laugh, right? I know Vicky's going, okay, this is so your power. To sequence, to balance, to make adjustments. It's our ability to know what's important and to put our life in order. So, as we've been looking at throughout the series, there are healthy ways of demonstrating the powers and not healthy ways of demonstrating the powers. So a healthy way of demonstrating the power is really identifying our priorities, what's most important to us, having an orderly life, and, the not so healthy demonstration of divine order would mean that we can get a little obsessive or driven or even become a perfectionist. Does anybody else relate to that demonstration of divine order? The 12 Powers for Children says it this way: divine order is our ability to act from a centered place. So I know you guys are probably getting really tired of Romans 8:28, but so many of the powers for me refer back to Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to God's purpose. And as we've talked about this before, that doesn't mean that all things work together for good that look good or that feel good. It doesn't say we know that all good things work together for good. Divine order acknowledges that sometimes things are working out that don't feel in the moment like they're working out. Has any of you ever been grateful for a no that happened in your life? In the moment, you didn't like it. You might have pitched a little fit, might have stomped a little foot. But in retrospect, right, what's that song you sing, Jody? Unanswered prayers. Thank God for unanswered prayers. Was that a Garth Brooks? Right? Divine order says, thank God in the moment. You don't have to wait for retrospect to see that sometimes no is a blessing. So Charles Fillmore described being in divine order as a perpetual Sabbath, as constantly being in that flow of spirit. And there's a level of trust that happens there. He says our minds are open to God every moment. He says divine order is about releasing the outcome, not limiting God or ourselves. It's this or something better, right? So many, many years ago, when I was just pretty new to Unity actually, and I was taking a bunch of classes, and at that point you couldn't take anything online. Every time you wanted to take a class, you had to actually fly out to Unity Village. So on one of our trips out to Unity Village, Ken went with me, and we went to what were called Adventures in Truth seminars. And one of them, one night, was, so like we'd have our classes during the day, and then every night there'd be an Adventure in Truth seminar. And we went one night to one that was called How to Be a Spiritual Pioneer. Well, I was always a big fan of Laura Ingalls Wilder. Anybody else grow up on Little House on the Prairie, right? And so I was very drawn to this. And it was also being taught by who at the time was the executive vice president of Unity School, and that was Reverend Chris Jackson. And then as things come full circle, it was really interesting. I really connected with Chris during that class, and when I was director of peacemaking, I ended up being called by Chris to work with his leadership. So that was kind of cool, like one of those full circle moments. So anyway, one of the concepts he shared about being a spiritual pioneer was that the characteristics of a spiritual pioneer were our ability to show up, be honest, and trust. And so whenever I think of divine order, I think of Chris. And show up, be honest, and trust. So show up is just what it sounds like. Be present. Show up, wherever we are. Be there, in the moment, present to whatever is appearing before us. I think that this was one of Jesus' greatest gifts. Like, have you ever been in the presence of someone and you just feel like you have their 100% undivided attention? I think that's what Jesus did, right? He was like this complete presence, which is actually very healing. Think about how many times he healed. It's so healing to be in that presence. And then be honest. Tell the truth, right? This is another one of Jesus' most important examples. He told the truth, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it got it into a whole bunch of trouble, even when it was being defiant. He had this quiet, sometimes loud courage of his convictions. We're called to that. It's also important that we tell the truth about our gifts. How many of us downplay our gifts? Right? No. Someone tells you you're good at something, say thank you. Embrace it and be willing to share it. And that leads us to the third direction, trust. I think really this is the big one for divine order. It's trusting that we are in a flow and that everything is working for good. Now remember the second part of that, though. This is, the Romans 8:28 is, it's one of those scriptures that we love the first part, that everything's working together for good part, but we kind of forget the second part. And we've talked about this a couple of times during this series because it's really important, which is everything works together for good for those who love God, Spirit, the force, your higher power, whatever you want to call it, and work according to its purpose. So that means that everything works together for good when we are in integrity, when we are in alignment, when we are sharing our gifts for good. So it's that all things work together when we love God, i.e., seek first the kingdom, and work according to God's purpose, i.e., become willing to demonstrate our gifts to make the greatest contribution. It's not that everything works together for good when we're not working for good. Let me fill that blank in for you. Right? And while we're trusting, divine order says that sometimes it takes a while to see the outcome of our work. I keep going back to what, especially over the last year, where it's been really hard to see the outcome of what's going on in our world. And I keep going back to Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, you don't need to see what's at the top of the staircase to take that first step. Divine order says we don't need to see what the outcome is, but we do need to keep taking those steps. And we do need to keep doing the right thing. So divine order is also about putting our life in order. So what is the most important thing in our lives? What are our priorities? The book I've chosen for our fall small group series is actually an older book. I think it came out in 1998. But I was really drawn to it. I went to my bookshelves at home in my at-home library, and I literally looked at every book on that bookshelf. It took a while. And I thought, well, I should probably do something new. I should probably do something fresh, And I kept coming back to this book by Wayne Muller called How Then Shall I Live? And it asks 4 fundamental questions, and you'll learn what they are this fall. But I thought, this is really an important work for us right now because so many of us are struggling to trust. So many of us don't really know what's at the top of that staircase. We don't, even our priorities have been shaken. What really is the most important thing in my life? And so we're going to explore that, so you'll be getting more information about that. So, ask yourself this, if your house caught fire, what would you grab? Well, the cats, if they would let us. We just had to take them all to the vet this week, so the scratches are fresh on my mind. But yeah, and so that's the first question. What would you grab? And the second question is, if your entire house burned down and you were left with a pile of ashes, what would you not even remember had burned? I'm guessing you could let that go. Right? Because that's what divine order is all about. It is literally getting our houses in order. Deciding what's most important to us. So let me tell you real quick what divine order is not, and then I'm going to bring Miss Leslie up here. So divine order is not an excuse. It's not metaphysiling. So if we make a commitment, now I'm going to use an example that would never happen in this community, but I just, take notes for your cousin or a previous community. So let's just say that you volunteered to usher, and you wake up that morning and you decide you don't really feel like ushering, and you call in to the volunteer coordinator and say, I woke up this morning and I really think it's in divine order for me not to usher this morning. Again, that would never happen here. But what do you notice about that? We call that metaphysiling. It's when you take an incredibly powerful spiritual principle or law, divine order is law, and you use it to make an excuse. So that is not divine order. We've said before, it's all good is not a denial, and it's not just an affirmation, it's the truth. And so before we make a commitment, we show up, we be honest, and then we trust. We don't make the commitment and then use divine order as an excuse not to follow through. So this week, you have homework. You're going to find a closet to clean out, or a garage, in our case. Nothing motivates you to clean out the garage like scheduling a new garage door being installed. So you're going to clean out a closet. You're going to clean out a belief. You're going to look at what would you not even miss if your house burned down. And you're going to ask yourself, what is the most important thing in my life? And what am I doing about that most important thing? So now that you have your homework, Miss Leslie, come on up. You're going to let me do this? Okay. You just got to get the fingernail action in there. That's what it is. So welcome. For those of you who don't know Leslie Burrs is the leader of our prayer chaplain team. She is also a meditation teacher and just all-around amazing human being. Leslie is, remember I was talking before about being in the presence of someone who gives you their full attention? That would be this woman. When you are in the presence of Leslie, you just feel like you're getting her full attention. So first question as always, you heard how Charles Fillmore and I and Chris Jackson define divine order. Yeah. So I want to hear how you do it, and then you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but just remember the last question is going to be, how did you specifically use divine order over the last year?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out of my mouth.
You know what? It'll be divine order.
Divine order, right, exactly. I have to first say that I love that we have olive green chairs today.
I know, seriously.
Order, right?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Divine order for me is, the easiest way for me to define it is being in tune with the infinite and in rhythm with the finite. Yeah. So there's a greater pattern that's always going on, what holds the universe together, and we see it in nature and in so many beautiful ways. And that's one of the reasons I love meditation, is because you can tune into that space. And then we are able to get into a flow, I love that word flow, and into a rhythm in our lives, and we know when we're in it, and we know when we're not. Yeah. And when we're in it, that for me is divine order. that we are working in concert with the universe and what we're meant to do in any given moment. And it just feels right. And when we're feeling like we're fighting upstream or fighting against something, that's when we need to kind of look at what is it that we're fighting or struggling against inwardly.
Yeah.
That keeps us from being in that flow of what I consider to be divine order. Everything has its place, and we all have our part to play. And when we're doing that, it's just a beautiful thing. It's like life just moves smoothly, and doesn't mean we don't have challenges, but it means that we're able to look at our challenges maybe a little differently. And I do think that you brought up trust, and for me, I think of faith. That everything is happening in the way that it's meant to unfold. And that takes me into this last year and a half with the pandemic and all of the energy that we've all been experiencing, kind of chaotic, and kind of has knocked us off of our foundation in a lot of ways. And that's when I like to tune into that infinite space and to see that there's a greater pattern that's going on at all times, and we in our little selves can't necessarily understand that or see it, but we can have faith that everything that's unfolding is for the greater good. And I believe that what we've been going through is just that. It's a transformational time, and the best thing we can do is to do our best, to be aligned with that flow and play the part that we're meant to play in it to help with the transformation.
That's the second part of Romans 8:28.
Yeah.
That's our part.
Right, our part.
Yeah.
We all have a part to play. And, I think we all, on some level, we know that internally, but we can, kind of rebel against it every once in a while.
Well, and we
I
can
don't
get
wanna do
caught
that
up
right
in
now.
chaos is not bad. There's a huge fertility in chaos, right? There's a huge amount of energy in chaos. I'm going to ignore the Star Trek reference that just popped into my head. I'm going to spare you guys from that this morning, although there was a really cool episode about it. When I think of chaos, I think of this cacophony of swirling, amazing color and energy, and yet it's very unsettling.
Right.
Like it's almost like this completely disorganized energy, right? And so I think part of our work is to tap into the energy of the chaos without being knocked off our feet by the swirl of the energy. And when you were saying about, when we just know when we're in the flow, and I think you're really pointing to the difference between working for something, which can be very gratifying, right, and struggling with something, which usually in my experience is, what you need to do, but you're not doing it, right? It's that inner, the monkey
Right.
is what causes the struggle. Yeah.
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 It does. Yeah, and when we can kind of allow ourselves to really take a step back, take a breath, and I use a lot of meditation terms because I spend so much time in that space. When we breathe into things, we can allow ourselves to relax for a moment, maybe let go of whatever it is we're holding on to so tightly,
Let it
and
go.
see that there are
let
other
it go. Yeah. I had
There
that
are
song on my phone last year, just as a
and
constant
there's
reminder.
so many possibilities that I think the distorted part of order is when we kind of build ourselves into this prison and not, we take away our choices. We take away all the possibilities that are there. And so it's important, and that's where that faith component comes in too, to trust that, there is something going on that we might not understand right now, but it's definitely working towards good. And as long as we keep putting one foot in front of the other and,
Taking
doing
the
what
next step.
Yeah, what our heart calls us towards, that's the very best thing we can do.
I think sometimes for me, I'm a huge fan of history. Sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed by everything that's going on in the world, I look back over not just 100 years, but 1,000 years. And I do see a pattern. I do see that we are on an evolutionary up. And that I think sometimes evolution is like the cha-cha. It's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, right? And
Right.
so when I get discouraged by the steps back, I go back and I look over time. Yep, that was a step back, but then look at the advances. And then that was a step back, and then look at the advances. So that helps me to trust that there is an order to the universe.
Yeah, I think of it as a wave of energy. You think of a wave, and you have the ups and the downs. But what we're doing is, even though we still have downs, which we've been experiencing, the angle is still an incline, and
Right.
you're down and up, but you're heading up
Right.
through that. So, yeah. So, divine order, I love it too. It's one of my favorites. And, in a practical sense, I use it to organize my life. And I was thinking about it this morning before I came in, and thinking about my catering career and how important order was.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But there's order, and then there's also the component of flexibility in that. You have to be willing to go with the flow. And, I would get into situations where, and I was like the queen of lists. You had to have
Spreadsheets.
list upon list upon
Yep.
list, and everything, and it's sequencing. Everything has to happen at certain times, and you're orchestrating a lot of people and just a lot of
Everything
things.
coming out of the oven at the right time.
At the right time, and
the
right.
whipped cream not turning into butter.
Yeah, all of that
Yep,
is happening
yep.
simultaneously, and I absolutely loved it. I just loved it, and then inevitably you'd get into a situation where something wasn't as you had anticipated it to be, and then you just have to kind of go with it, and you realize that when you're in that flow and everything is somewhat organized, that you have some latitude. To work within that space. And I had so many times, I'd say almost every time I ever catered an event, where at the end I would get home and having spent 16 hours depending on the day, and thinking about it, thinking, how in the world did we just do that? And
How did that turn out so well?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
So that's where you feel that divine source, and the hand that it plays in all of our lives when we allow it, and when we focus our energy in that direction. So
I think divine order acknowledges the importance of prioritizing and organizing. It's for me, it's one of the more concrete of the powers. I've had throughout the years of my career, people have said to me, oh, your services are just so spontaneous, and they just so free-flowing, and they're so fun. And I say, you have no idea how prepared we all are, and how we spend months creating these series, and every aspect of the service is in order before we start. And then once we start, we go with the flow. But for me, the comfort of having that level of preparation is what allows us to be spontaneous and to go with the flow.
that's exactly
Because
it.
we have that foundation of the preparation,
Right.
just like your spreadsheets and your lists. And
That was the word I was going to use too, is foundation.
Yeah.
It gives us a foundation to work from.
yeah.
Because without that, then
Without the innate order.
right, right,
Right.
then there
Yeah.
is real chaos. And
Well, in order to go with the flow with the plan, you have to have a plan, right? There is no going with the flow if there's no plan to begin with, right? So.
Yeah, and it also makes me think about, you were talking about, getting priorities in order and that sort of thing. And, during this last year and a half, that's something that's really happened for me, is that, it brings this hyper focus to, what is really important and what's not, you know, and then you can just let what's not fall away. And it's almost like a relief, you realize that there's so many things that, for me, that I was dividing my energy between, that just wasn't serving, my purpose.
Right.
What I'm meant to do right now. And simplifying can be such a beautiful thing. You were talking about cleaning out closets and all that. And I've been doing a lot of purging and cleaning out my house.
I think a lot of us, I think that's why we had the most successful yard sale in our history, because So many of us were looking at this after this last year and a half going, yeah, this is I even got rid of a set of dishes, Leslie.
Wow.
I know, you know, that's a huge thing for me. So now I'm down to 13 sets of dishes, but yeah, I think there's a lot of that going on in our culture right now. You know, I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, you know, normal wasn't really that great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go back to normal.
Yeah.
I want to recreate. I want to, you know, see what is really important to me. I think so often we've been enculturated to think, okay, this should be important. Or one of Wayne's questions in the book is, what do I love? You know, who am I is the first question, and then the second question is, what do I love? And you know, you'd think that would be an easy answer, but he really takes us deep into, well, do you really love that? Or do you think you should love that?
Right.
And I think we've really been wrestling with those questions over the last year.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, that's another thing that I love about meditation is it makes things so clear. You
Yeah.
know, when you go into that space of the heart and
Yeah, you hear the voice.
yeah,
Yeah.
and, you know, what is it that I love? And it's, you know, life in its essence is so simple.
Yeah.
And we've made it so complicated in so many ways. And you know, it's really about loving each other and
Yeah.
showing up in the
Yeah.
world and being
Yeah.
who we were meant to be on whatever level that is. And everybody has their own gifts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the fourth question, actually, in the book is, what gifts do I have to give? Yeah, I think it's going to be
Everybody has something beautiful to give.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're awesome.
Oh. So are you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any final thoughts before we go into meditation?
No, I don't think so. I think we kind of covered everything.
It's all
that
in
had come
divine
to
order.
mind.
We're
It's all in
gonna-
divine order. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the last thing I want to talk about just is rhythm, you know, and
Yeah.
really just allowing ourselves to be in that flow and feeling rhythm. And you know, the meditation that we do is heart rhythm meditation.
Yeah.
So it's really about connecting with the rhythm of life that flows through all of creation, and we're all a part of that. You know?
Yeah.
We're not separate from it.
I think we've definitely recognized how connected we all are.
In beautiful ways, yeah.
Yeah. So before you leave, I want to thank you for your incredible leadership of the prayer chaplain team and how that entire team under your leadership has been such a huge support to me and to this community. I mean, your team is one of those that we don't see a lot of what you do, and yet between the care calls and the weekly prayer services and being here on Sundays and just the incredible space you all hold for us. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's an amazing group of people. I feel
It
very
is an
honored.
amazing group of people. Thank you. Love you.
to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember.
So I invite you to breathe. To breathe deeply into the questions. To ask ourselves, why have we come to earth? What is my role in the great cosmic order? What and who and how do I love? What and who and how do I serve? And what truth am I called to remember? Perhaps it's the truth of who we are. Perhaps it's the truth of the gifts we are here to share. Perhaps it's the truth of what is most important to us. Truly important. As we practice this incredible power, this power of order, we commit to being present so that we can tell the truth. And in the presence of that truth, we trust. We trust the flow. We trust that still, small inner voice of wisdom. We trust the truth of our being, our true nature. That fully integrated expression of both human and divine. When we are committed to demonstrating that truth, we are expressions of divine order at work. When we do our part of knowing that all things work together for good, we become a force for good in the world. And so I invite you to take this question into a moment of silence. What is most important to me? When we hear that answer, are we willing to be present to it? To speak the truth of it and to trust it? Are we willing to love, serve, and remember in the presence of that answer?
Love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and remember.
Thank you. Wow, it feels so sweet in here, doesn't it? You're glowing over there. So this is the time of our service where we consciously remember that we are always living in the flow of giving and receiving. We're always there. It's just sometimes we have to consciously remember that we're there. And this community does such an amazing job of demonstrating that understanding with your incredible generosity. As we have shared, we no longer pass the basket, but there is a basket in the back of the room, and y'all have gotten really good at sending income right through the ethers, right into our accounts to support the incredible work of this organization. So, thank you. This is the going with the flow part of the service. This is
Right. Think on your feet. You don't realize how much we do that. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles returning to their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Little darling, I feel that ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. It's alright.
Yeah. I hope it's okay that we were all singing along on the do-to-do parts. All right, let's stand and share in our unity blessing.
Birthday day. It's
As soon as we do the unity blessing.
after the blessing.
After the blessing. That's okay.
You scared me.
All right, together, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in each and every one of you. Now let's do the birthday song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, we love you. Happy birthday to you. And many more. If you want your name called out during the birthday song, let us know when your birthday is so we can put it in the database. And I want to wish my beloved a happy August birthday. So happy birthday, Ken. All right, now let's sing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united on our way. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. The
Light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And wherever God is, all is well. Go forth, have an amazing week. Show up, be honest, and trust, and clean out a closet or two. It feels good. Have a great week. We love you. Bye-bye, Facebook and YouTube land.